This meeting is being recorded.
Students who are in online, offline. Am I audible, students? Online students, am I audible? Right. So let us move to the further. In previous class, so completed, we completed the concept of hmm, methods. Methods. So if you go to oops, under that classes, if you just open the classes concept syntax for defining a class, and if you carefully watch it, this class level data members, instance data members, instance methods, class level methods, class level data members, static method, utility operations, universal operations. This is what we did. So up to here, we completed in the class. So today we are entering into what constructors we are going to discuss. So what is the need of the constructors? I'm going to talk. Once we know classes and object, constructors concept is very, very easy. Very, very easy. So let me start about what do you mean by these constructors? Why we need these constructors in the programming of Python? Java also constructors are there. Python also constructors are there. C++ also constructors are there. All object-oriented programming concepts contains constructors. So let me go to the programming directly. So through example, I will go for it. So go to this place and look at this here. Close this project. Go to your place. This is the one last class we did and come out of that. And now I'm going to take up an example here. Look at that. Something like non, here I'm writing non-constructor example. So no constructors in my program so far. Non-constructor example.py. So class student, I'm writing just a pass. So main program I will write it. Main program I am writing here and try to understand what exactly we are doing now. So in this place, what is happening? Come in. In this case, what is happening? S is equal to, now I am writing student of. S is equal to student of, I am writing print of content of S. Content of S is equal to, how do you check that whether it is having the data or not? Dictum. So which is going to display what? Empty. Empty. No data present inside of that. No data present inside of that. This is an output we got it. Content of S is empty. Then next my question is, how do you place the data inside of that S? How do you place the data inside of S? How do you place the data inside of S? Come on. Using data members. What is the data members? I want to place the inside the object. This is empty. How do you place the data? Uma, correct. Instance data members I want to place. Data members means what is the data members? Instance or class or what is that? Instance data members I want to place. How many ways are there to place instance data members? 3. What is the first way? Through object. Next, through instance method. Through constructor. Today we are learning it. So today we are writing it. I want to place the data inside of this S. How we placed the data inside of S now? To place the data inside of it, I'm writing one method. S dot get or get std data. Get std data. What is this std data here? Function name. So this is a normal function. This is a normal function normal method, calling explicitly, explicitly means what? Separately, a separate line is writing for placing instance data members, instance data members, instance data members. I'm writing it. How do you write it now? Here I will write it. DAF. What is this now? Get STUD data here of self here. Now I'm writing DAF get STUD data. There I will write self dot SNO is equal to some 100. Self dot what next? Self dot name is equal to something like Rosam. This is my data which is written. That is nothing but separately I'm calling one method. The later this is going to contain the data as what? SNO, SNO colon 100, comma, what next? Name colon what Brosum. This is the data available like this. So try to run this again, students. Now see this now. Before reading, this is the data. After reading, this is the data. This type of process I don't want. This type of process I don't want. What process I don't want? Joining BTech. Joining BTech. 4 years completed. Brain is empty. Brain is empty. Lot of fees has gone there. After that, separate training we are taking. The separate training, brain filled with data. Before the reading, brain is empty. Object is empty. After taking some special training, brain is filled with some data. This I don't want. Why? College fees wasted. Here also fees you are paying. We don't want. Whenever what I want, this process I don't want. Whenever I join BTech, in the BTech only complete data I want to get it. That means whenever an object is created, I want to place my own data without leaving object empty. Without leaving object empty, I want to place my own data inside the object. That type of activity can be done by the concept of what? Constructor. That type of activity can be done by the concept of constructor. What is the constructor? How do you use constructor? If you don't use constructor, what will happen? Whenever I create an object, by default, what data? Empty. Example చెప్పాను కదా. BTech joining. After that, no data available after 4 years. Brain is what? Empty. What are we doing? Again joining separate course. With that, what is placed? Some data placed. This I don't want. Leaving empty, later keeping the data. That is what is called a double time process I don't want. What I want? Beginning only. Whenever an object is created, I want to place my own data without leaving the object empty. That is known as what activity? Constructor activity. Take another example. Whenever you are going to a bank to open an account, what is your minimum balance will be placed immediately? 500 rupees or 1000 rupees you will place it. That is nothing but what? Whenever you open an account, you are placing immediately 500 rupees or 1000 rupees you are keeping. That is known as what? You are not leaving your account empty. You are initializing your account with some minimum balance. That activity can be done by the concept of what? Constructor. Are you able to follow? So what is the use of constructor? What is the use of constructor? Whenever an object is created, I want to place my own data inside of the object yes without leaving the object empty. With this activity, what is happening? Object leaving empty. Later we are calling the method explicitly. Later data will be filled. Today, what is my activity? I want to create an object. I want to fill my own data without calling the method. Without calling the method. That is known as which activity? Constructor activity. Still not getting? So try to get this subject. So here, I hope that you understood and your BTech example also set and try to go for constructor example 1.py. So coming to the point back, here I am writing constructor example 1.py. So there I'm going to write it. Today, I'm not going to write this. I'm not going to write it. What is this creation called? What is this line is called? Object creation. Once an object is created, where it will go? Where it will go? To the class. And looking for what? Some method or something, nothing is there. That's why it is giving to what? Empty. Leaving to empty. So I don't want this empty. I want to place my own data without calling any method or without calling any kind of object to data members. For that, today we are entering into what? Constructor. So how do you define a method? General method, how do you define? DEF. What is that now? Method name. Method name of what you are writing? Self. Comma, what are you writing? List of formal parameters. List of formal params, if any. If any. Here we are writing it. So we are writing here perform some specific operation or not. Performs performs some operation. Perform some operation here. Students, perform some operation. This is perform some operation now. And we mention instance data members even. This is called method syntax. Now today we are going to deal with constructor. Constructor is also one method. Constructor is also one method, but whose name of the method is a fixed name you can take. Underscore underscore init underscore underscore off. You need to write a self comma. What is this now? List of formal params, if any. If any. There I am writing it. There we are writing it. Block of statements. We mention block of statements. Here I am writing block of statements like operations only. But these things are going to do what? Initializes, initializing, initializing, initializing the object, initializing the object with values. So constructor's job is to initialize the object. Method's job is to perform the operation. Initialization first, operation first. Initialization will be the first. So deposit first, minimum balance maintaining first, minimum balance maintaining when an account is opened. Withdraw first, deposit first, deposit. That too, initial amount placing is important. So if we go to the banking, if we go to the banking, initialization to be done first. Later you can do deposit function. Later you can do withdraw function. Later you can do balance inquiry function and all. Initialization done by which concept? Constructor. Operations will be performed by what? Methods. What is the difference between initialization and methods? Difference between constructor and then methods. Methods will do the operation on the data members, and a constructor will do what? Initializes the object. So initialization first, methods first. So constructors will be the first. What is the syntax of this? Like this. Let us go to that now. Go to the program once. Here I am writing inside first time a new entry DEF underscore init underscore underscore of self underscore underscore of self. This constructor also related to object only. That's why taking self. Be careful. I am from what is this now? Constructor. So how do you recognize it as a constructor or a method? How do you recognize it as a constructor or method? This type of underscore underscore init underscore underscore of. This is one of the magic variable. Magic method name this is. Anything starts with underscore, some name here, and then underscore again. This is called what? Magic variable or magic method. If off is there, it is a magic method. If underscore underscore dict, that is known as what? Magic variable or dunder variable we can call. This is double underscore before the method name, double underscore after the method name. This is called a dunder method we can call. Remember that. Now try to execute the flow I am telling. Whenever an object is created, makes the PVM to call constructor automatically. Constructor. So here I am writing STRU constructor automatically, or what? Implicitly. Implicitly, it is going to call during what creation? Object creation. Whenever an object is created, PVM goes to the class looking for the constructor. Do you have constructor here? Yes, this will get executed. In that, I am writing some body also over the time, and try to remember that. Remove this now. Try to execute. See that I am from constructor. This constructor is calling during what creation? Object creation. Constructors are calling automatically during object creation. The moment when object is created, memory space is created for that object. Immediately it is going to the class and looking for constructor. Suppose if I did not write here, if I did not write this sentence here, and it is looking for constructor, but constructor is not there, no output is coming. If at all I write any method, method will not be called automatically. Method needs to be called explicitly. So try to write it now. Here I am writing like this. Here I am going to write it. Here I am going to write it. Some type of thing called what? Some XYZ I am writing. You try to run it, no output will be coming. So I am from a concept that this method is not coming. I am from method it is not coming because this is supposed to call explicitly. How do you call? Yes or dot, yes or dot, xyz, yes or dot, xyz. Then that answer will be coming. Then that answer will be coming. Of course, I am from method here. I am from method here. This will be coming explicitly. And here I am not using that. I am not using this. Constructor I am writing it. Here I am writing underscore underscore init underscore of. I am from constructor. I think you are following me. So now I'm going to enter into the further. During the object creation, constructor is calling. Now students, here I'm writing it. Self dot SNO is equal to 100. Self dot SNO is equal to 100. Self dot name is equal to row sum. I'm writing. This is called, I'm initializing data members inside this. So object called S is containing which data? This data. Automatically during which creation? Object. This process is known as what? Object initialization. This is known as the object initialization. Print the data now. Content of content of yes is equal to comma yes dot underscore of dict, which is earlier contains it is a null. That is null in the sense this is like that. Now it is going to contain the data what you have written it. So try to run this code. Here I got it. See students, earlier it was an empty. Now it is containing my data. So what is the use of constructor? To initialize the object. With initializing the object is nothing but placing our own data without leaving the object empty. That is known as what? Constructor purpose. So what is the definition of constructor? First you need to understand the purpose. Purpose of constructor is to initialize the object. Initialize the object done by constructor. Purpose of method to perform the operation. Operation first, initialization first. Whenever you buy the mobile, you are going to initialize your mobile with what? Contacts. Contacts. After that, you are going to apply what? Call function, send SMS function, WhatsApp chatting. You will do. These are all called what? Normal function. Initializing the contacts will be done by what? Constructors. So important. So here I am going to move to further. One more time I will write it. One more time I will write it. One more time. This is called S1, you write it. This is called S2, you write it. S1 here. Content of S1 here. S2 here. This is called S2 here. Try to run it. Second time also constructor is calling. Second time also constructor is calling. First time constructor is calling, second time also constructor is calling. That means constructor will call each and every time whenever an object is created. Who are all the number of people are coming for the bank to open an account? In all the times, constructor will be called to initialize their amounts. So here, S3 will be here. Content of S3 I am writing. S3, here I am writing S3. So try to execute now. Here we got the answer. 3 times it is getting called. Now here, all the 3 times contains which data? Same data. same data. So what the difference between method and constructor? Methods needs to call explicitly through an object name, but constructor is calling automatically during which creation? Object creation. Go to the next example. And methods need to have some name, anything you can give, but the constructor name always supposed to be taken like this. That's why constructor is one of the special method which is automatically called by PVM during which creation? Object creation, whose role is to initialize the object without leaving the object empty. That is the purpose of what? Constructor. So inside the class, who what things will present? Inside the class, data members are present, methods are present, constructors are present. So constructors deals with what data members? Instance data member. To initialize inside of what? Object. So object initialization is nothing but initialized with which data members? Instance data member. So constructors are dealing with what? Data members. That to which data members? So instance data members can be initialized in the object through what? Constructor. And you have seen the example here, data members, instance data member. If you go to my example, you see instance data members can be specified in three places: through an object, through inside the instance method, inside the constructor. Today you have seen inside the constructor. I hope you are following me. Inside the constructor, you have mentioned it. And this object is created. Three times this object is created. Three times this constructor is calling. Online students, is it clear? Let me go to the another example here. Another example I want to carry. Another example I want to carry. Nothing is there. Simple. Compared to methods, from here onwards, it is a dead easy. Constructor example 2.py. Constructor example 2.py. Carry this example, students. Now I'm going to write it. My interest today is very, very important statement I'm making here. What is my statement here? See, earlier when I was run this program, it is showing all the objects contains which data? Same data. But I want to go for different data. I want to keep it. How do you go for keeping different data? Now I want to take it. What is this line is called? Come on. Now I'm passing the data. First time I'm passing. So far you are creating the object like this only. Now we already done earlier also. What is that? S is equal to Python. S is equal to Python. What is this now? L is equal to list of. What is this line is called? Object creation. Now earlier, whether you remembered or not, this is S. What is this S? We are creating an object. We are converting the string data into which type? Listed type. That means we are keeping the list str data inside of what? Like that. Today we are going to keep the student data in S1 and pass the data. 100 comma, and I am writing here Travis. What is this is called? Object creation with our own data makes the PVM to call the constructor or automatically. How this is going to be done? It will go to the class called student looking for the constructor. What is this is containing? S1 data present in where? Self plus this data. I need to take the formal parameters. Here I am writing comma SNO comma. What next? Yes name. I am from constructor. Here I am writing SNO. I am writing. Next I am writing what? Yes name. What is this SNO and S name is called? Formal parameters. And these are called what? Data members we are keeping inside the S1. I hope you are following me. You observe the difference between earlier program and this program. This constructor taking only self, but this constructor you see taking self along with the parameters. That's why this constructor is known as what? Parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. Spell out parameterized constructor. And the another constructor which you are taking, the another constructor which you are taking is called default constructor. This is known as what constructor? Default constructor it is called. Default constructor it is called. This default constructor is the one which takes only what? Only what? self as a parameter, it never takes another formal parameters. But here it is taking what? Another parameters along with the self. So one can recognize what is parameter is constructor, what is default constructor. Now you print this data. How do you print this now? I'm writing here content of S1 is equal to comma S1 dot underscore dict underscore dict, execute it. See that I'm getting this number and name like this. Execute it. How this is working? Once again, I'm saying S1 address kept into where? Self. SNO kept into this place. S name will be keeping into this place. Now I'm going to write it. S2 is equal to, now I'm writing one more time. One more time. I will write it like this. Take care. Now here I'm writing S2 is equal to, saying here, 200 I'm saying, and the name is equal to something like John Hunter. I'm just trying to write like this. Same. Object creation makes the PVM to call constructor. Same. S2 address is going to where? Self. And this 200 will go to SNO. John Hunter will go to S name, initializing the object with the data. So print the data now. S2 is equal to, content of S2 is equal to S2 dot, I'm writing it. Try to run this now. I'm getting this data here. Are you able to follow now? Simple. Go to another kind of thing. Last and final. Which constructor it is? Which constructor? Parameters constructor. What is the use of parameters constructor which you understand here? What parameter constructor will do? What parameter constructor will do? మీకు అసలు అబ్జర్వేషన్ లేదు, ఏమి రాదు అసలు. Go to the place here. We got it what? This data, this data, this data. చూడండి, మీకు రాకపోయినా పర్లేదు, అట్లీస్ట్ అర్థం చేసుకోండి. సో హియర్ ఐఎమ్ గోయింగ్ టు టేక్ అప్. హియర్ యూ సీ సేమ్ డేటా. Default constructor will initialize the multiple objects of same class with the same values. Same values. And when you go to this place, multiple objects of same class initialized with what values? Different values. అది అర్థం కాదు అది. ఏం స్టూడెంట్స్? So here initializing the multiple objects of same class with what values? Same values. Initializing the multiple objects of same class with which values? Different values. So this is going to be coming different values. So what is the use of, how many constructors are there? Two constructors. One is default constructor. It is also known as what? Parameterless. Parameterless constructor we can call. Parameterless constructor is one which takes self as a parameter and no more parameters will be taken it. The purpose of default constructor is to initialize the multiple objects of same class with what values? Same values. And if we go to this test class constructor example 2, it is taking self along with some more formal parameters. It is called parameters constructor. Purpose of parameterized constructor is to initialize the multiple objects of same class with a different values. Most important. How many types of constructors? Two. One is a default constructor. One more is a parameterized constructor. Default constructor will do what I said. Parameterized constructor will do what I said. So inside the class, we can write two types of constructor. One is default constructor, parameterized constructor. What is the use of parameterized constructor? To initialize multiple objects of same class with same values. To initialize the multiple objects of same class with different values. That is called what? Parameterized. How can I recognize a default constructor or parameterized? Default constructor takes self as a parameter only, but parameterized constructor takes self and other parameters also it will take. That is called parameterized. The overall concept of constructor is to initialize the object either with the same values or with what? Different values of different types in the same object of what? Same class. That is the point of constructors. Now students, when you come to this place, constructors will have the things is, constructor will have some rules and regulations are there. Very simple. Very simple. When you read and come, actually, whoops is dead easy. When you don't read, things are very complicated. If you don't open your mouth, also things are complicated. Already 22 years we sat without opening mouth. First 6 years you leave it. 6 years means you don't know anything. You are following the teacher. That's why you are remembering still twinkle twinkle little star. Today also you are remembering. Correct or not? Remembering, na? That also forget. If you forget that also means you are not normal. So you are extraordinary. So rules are what? The name of the constructor. The name of the constructor. The name of the constructor is always what is that? DEF underscore underscore init underscore of what? Self, comma. If at all you are taking any parameters, you can take it and you will write some block of statements and everything. Second one is called what? The constructor. The constructor will call the constructor. The constructor will call automatically, automatically, automatically during what creation? Object creation. Object creation. The constructor will called by PVM, called by PVM automatically or implicitly, or implicitly. I will write it implicitly, implicitly during what creation? Object creation. That is a very important. When the method will call, explicitly when you call it, either through object or through class name or through class name again. Instance method is through object name, class level method through class name, static method is through class name. Already rules and regulations, so many things explained. Now the constructor will be called by will be called by PVM automatically or implicitly during what time? Object creation time. But method will not call during object creation time. If you call it, then only it will call. If you don't call it, it will not call. So that is the meaning of automatically or explicitly. So methods will call explicitly, constructors will call implicitly. Method name can be any name you can take which will satisfy the rules of variables. Constructor name will be always what? Fixed. So I'm going to take up the next. See students, when you go for any method, methods are meant for performing operation. Operation result to return, we will use what statement? Return. And that values we will go for it. Return. That means inside the method body, there is a possibility of using return statement because operations will be performed. But in the case of constructor, you cannot write return statement. Return of value 10, which is an error. Constructor's job is what? To dump the values in the object, to place the values in the object. But you are trying to return something which is not correct. It is called error, which is an error. That means constructor will not return any value. If at all you want to return something, you have to write the value called what? None. You have to return the value called none. Writing none is nothing but as good as not to write anything. Returning none is no fun in that. So returning 10, if I write it, it is an error. Look at that error here. Type error. Init should return only what? Not int. Return 10. So close it. Now I am writing 10.25. Error again. It should return none, but not float. Should return none, not float. I'm writing here once again here. I'm writing something like this. List. It is not supposed to return list. It is supposed to return what only? None. It is supposed to be written as something like Python here. Python here. Should not return str. Should return what only? None, but not str. So how do you write it here? I will write none. So I'm writing none. So try to write it here. Now you are getting perfect answer. But writing none is of no use at all here. That's why constructors are not recommended to write any written statement. So here I will write it. Constructors, constructors will not return any value. Constructors will not return any value except any value except what? none. Writing none is also no use. What is the difference between method and constructor? A method may return the value, may not return the value. Already you know returning, not returning, taking, not taking, and everything. But constructor may be returning, may not be returning. Rule is not there. Constructor will not return any value. If at all you want to write some return statement, you have to write return. None you need to write it. Are you able to follow now? Right. Come to the next point. These are the rules for using constructors in the Python program. In Python programming, especially I am writing it, constructors participates in constructors participates in inheritance students. What is inheritance? You don't know. Very soon that inheritance concept will be coming. In Python programming, constructors participates in inheritance. Why I wrote especially here in Java programming, constructors will not participate in inheritance process. That is an important difference you need to take it. So language to language, the rules will be different. But the concept of constructor remains same only. But constructors participates in inheritance in Python programming. Constructors will not inherit in Java programming. So Java is not necessary here. And now coming to next, constructors in Python programming. Last rule I am saying constructors can be overridden. Can be overridden. Can be overridden. Can be overridden. In Python programming, constructors can be overridden. So overridden in the sense what? You can change the body. I will explain overriding concept in our class. We are having separate mechanism is there. If we go to oops here, there is the index of oops. If you come to this place, here we are discussing this area now. Here we are going to have constructor overriding, method overriding, inheritance, everything is available. Now we are in the discussion of this part only. So coming to this place now, these are the rules and regulations of Python. This last two things you don't worry. And these two things, these three things I shown you in the class. Are you following me? So let us go to the place. Students in the online, I think these rules are clear. And 4 and 5, you don't worry. I'll explain you once again. These things are clear for you. Go to the again this part. So tell me, answer my question. What is the use of constructor? To initialize the object. What is the name of the constructor? What is the name of the constructor? మధుబాబులు ఎందుకు మీరు అసలు అండర్ స్కోర్ init underscore of self comma self list of parameters. Is it a name of the constructor or not? రాశాను కదా మధుబాబులు. The name of the constructor is always and రాశాను కదా. So who will call constructor? Who will call constructor? Huh? Who will call constructor? ఇంకా అసలు ఇంగ్లీష్ రాదు, ఏం రాదు, ఎందుకు మీరు అసలు? Say that the constructor will be called by PVM. During what? Object creation. The constructor called by PVM during object creation. Who will call constructor? PVM. చిన్నప్పుడు లిజనింగ్ స్కిల్స్ అని ఉంటాయి, మీకు తెలుసో లేదో. టీచర్ విల్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ వన్ పారాగ్రాఫ్. దట్ పారాగ్రాఫ్ దే విల్ ఆస్క్ యూ సమ్ క్వశ్చన్స్, ABCDE క్వశ్చన్స్. అవి ఆన్సర్ చేస్తే 1 మార్క్ ఉంటుంది. అది అసైన్మెంట్ లో కలుస్తాయి అవి, మీకు తెలుసో లేదో అది. సో దే విల్ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ వన్ పారాగ్రాఫ్ అండ్ దే విల్ ఆస్క్ క్వశ్చన్స్. These are constructor rules. What is my first question? What is the name of the constructor? Madhubabulu, come on. DEF underscore init of. Who will call constructor? Constructor never returns any value. True or false? True. Never returns any value. No int, no float. True. That is a true. I am giving true or false. That is called what? True. Constructor returns int value. False. Next, constructors in Python programming, constructors can be dash inherited. In Python programming, constructors can be inherited. Participates in inheritance in the sense I gave in the paragraph. In Python programming, constructors can be dash inherited. In Python programming, constructors can be overridden. These are the properties of it. This is very, very important. So here, if you come back to this, Default constructor, I'm going to take it. What is the default constructor? Class test. I'm taking something like that. Now my intention is, I want to initialize, I want to create, I want to create three objects of test class and initialize and initialize all three objects with the same values, with the same values 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and initializes all three objects with the same values 1 and 2. So how do you do that? T1 is equal to test of. This is known as what? Object creation. By looking at this line, I can understand that which constructor will call. Which constructor will call? Default. If I write a 10 comma 20, if I write 10 comma 20, you can easily understand which constructor will call. Parameterized constructor. So here I am writing object creation makes the PVM to call which constructor? Default constructor. Default constructor. Default constructor. There I am trying to write it. There I am trying to write it. Underscore init underscore of self. So I am writing here. I am from default constructor. I am from default constructor. So I am from default constructor. So here itself I will write it. I will write it here. So here I will write it. I am from default constructor. Self dot A is equal to 1. Self dot B is equal to 2. I'll print the value there itself. I am writing backslash T. Value of A. I am initializing and I am printing that. Format of self dot A. Self dot A. Here I am writing it. Now I am going to write it. Value of B also I am writing. Value of B also I am writing here. B here. Self dot B. So now I will go for one more kind of thing. One more kind of thing I am going to write it. Print of end of this. Now I'm going to take it. One more object I want to create it. T2 object I want to create. Same default constructor only calling. Initializing with the same object. T2, T3, T1, T2, T3. All of them are going to initialize with the same thing. Try to run this code and see this output now. I am from default constructor 1, 2. I am from default constructor 1, 2. I am from default constructor 1, 2. T1 object with 1, 2. T2 object with 1, 2. T3 object with 1, 2. All the object values are placing here. I hope you are following me. Done. Go to the next stage. Next stage. I want to go for next thing is another kind of thing. I want to go for one more kind of thing. Parameterized constructor. I want to go for it. Parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. I'm going to take up an important rule I'm deriving from these examples. Be careful to understand. Here I'm writing it. Try to copy this entire thing. Try to copy this entire thing. Here I'm going to write it. Be careful. Here I'm writing it. Parameterized constructor example 1.py. Here I will try to remove it. You know, this you say try to say pass. Here I'm writing. I want to create three objects of test class. Initializing three objects with which values? Different values. Different values I want to go for it. Different values I want to initialize. How do you do it? 10, 20, 10, 20. Here I will go for 100, 200, 100, 200. Here I will go for 1000 and 2000, 1000 and 2000. Makes the PVM to call which constructor? Parameterized constructor. By looking at this, one can understand that it is calling parameterized constructor. Makes the PVM to call parameterized constructor. Makes the PVM to call parameterized constructor. Makes the PVM to call parameterized constructor. Now I am going to write it pass. There I am writing def underscore init underscore of self comma something like a comma b or x comma b, whatever you like it, k comma v, whatever you like it. You can write a self dot A is equal to K, self dot self dot B is equal to V. So I can write it in this place. I am from parameterized constructor. If you want, you can print it. I am from parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. You can print that values also. AB values you can print it here. AB values you can print it. In this case, I can write AB values. I initialized it and I printed. Try to do this now. First, you try to keep comment or try to run directly. You already understood. Parameterized constructor 1 to 10, 20, 100, 200, 1000 and 2000. 2000 you place it. So try to execute now. I got the values. So T1 object contains some data, T2 object contains some data, T3 object contains some data. Of which class? Same class only called a test. So whenever you want to initialize multiple objects of same class with different values, I must go for which constructor? Parameterized constructor. Okay, well, up to here we understand the meaning of what? Parameterized constructor. We understand the meaning of parameterized constructor. But my intention is what you know now. Here I wrote a default constructor. Here I wrote parameterized constructor. Separately I wrote it. Here also separately I wrote it. Now I am expecting something like this. Be careful. Go to this place. Here I am writing default parameterized constructor. So I'm writing here constructor example.py. So there I'm trying to write it. Both of them I'm trying to take up. Take any one of the constructor, you take it. In this case, you take this example you carry. So simple example, easy also. This is what is happening. T1 object, T1 object. I want to create multiple objects, multiple objects, multiple objects of test class, initializing one object with the default values, one object with 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and other objects with other objects with other objects with different values, different values. This is what I am expecting it. 1 and 2, and other objects with different values. T1 is equal to test. Already this is a default constructor. Try to run it. Happily default constructor is coming 1, 2. Okay, that is fixed. T2 is equal to test of 10 comma 20. Tell me what is this constructor is called? Object creation makes the PVM to call what? Parameterized constructor. So once you go for parameterized constructor, definitely what PVM looks for, which constructor it looks for? Parameterized. T2 values are stored in where? Self. What about the 10 and 20? To store 10 and 20, there is no meaning of what? X and Y is not there. Which error will come because of this? Type error will come because of the arguments mismatching. Arguments mismatching will give you what? Type error. Look at that. You are getting here. First constructor is coming. Type error is giving a problem. Init takes one positional argument only, but you are giving how many? 3. 3 in the sense you are giving this first value as a argument, second and third you are giving. But how many it is taking? 1 only. So then how do you tackle this situation? This is calling which constructor? Default. For this, what should I define? Parameterized. So I need to define parameterized constructor or not? Come on. Yes, define. Shall I define it or not? Comma. What is this? A comma B. A comma B. Which constructor it is? Parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor. So what should I do? Self dot A and next is called what? Self dot B. Self dot A, self dot B. What is an output? What is an output? Here, what is an output? 1, 2. And what is an output here? 10, 20. That is called a wrong answer. Wrong answer. Already, if you are not so serious about the subject, So why this will give you error. Type error it is going to give you. Type error it is going to give you. Why type error, sir? Here, what is the name? Same constructor name. Same constructor name. When you go for same method name, constructor is also one method name. Whenever you take the same method name like that, PVM will give the preference for the latest method only. It will not go for taking the two methods into consideration. Sir, where you taught that example, sir? Go to 9 a.m. under functions concept, variable arguments concept, variable arguments example 1. This program will not execute because the PVM remembers the latest function definition. చదువుకోండి మధుబాబులో. This program will not execute because PVM remembers latest function definition only, but not previous definition due to its interpretation process. Display of 5 values, display of 4 values, display of 3 values, display of 2 values, display of single value. It remember the latest function definition only. It can't remember all these definitions. This point was already explained, and that I was sorted it out by using the another concept is in functional programming. I explained it. We defined it, call it. We defined it, call it. We defined it, call it. This is another one. But the problem I said, in general, if you have n function calls, then the programmer must define n function definition. This process is a time consuming process. Let us have n function calls with a variable length arguments concept. By using that, we can define what? Single function definition. This part was already over. That concept you need to remember here. So it considers what function? Same name, same name. Line number 3, line number 10. Which constructor it remembers? Line number 10 constructor only, latest one only it remembers. So in the mind of PVM, in the class of test, what constructor it remembers now? Parameterized. But you are calling what here? Default. It gives error. Line number 22, error. Line number 22, error. If you know the subject, you can understand. This concept was already explained in the functions only. Test of init. See this error. Missing two required positional arguments. A and B values are missing. But I don't want to pass the values. So if I keep a comment, my program will execute perfectly. Output is coming. Are you following me? If I change the order, what will happen? It will execute. Remove the comment, it will execute. But this is going to become a problem. Why latest function only it is taken into consideration. Default I got it, and this last one is getting a doubt. Last one is getting a problem. So that means if I write a default constructor, first it is going to write the default constructor, next it is taking what? If I write both the constructors, it is taking the latest constructor definition only, and object creation gets problem. To avoid this, what to do? To avoid this issue, what to do? First of all, are you understanding this? This concept, I must sort it out with the concept of default parameters. I already explained you default parameters concept I need to introduce. Default parameters. What is my intention of this one, test of 1 and 2? One object with what? 1 and 2. Say A is equal to what here? 1. And B is equal to what here? 2. A is equal to 1, B is equal to 2. This is known as default parameters. Already explained. This is called a message passing even. While I am calling it, I am not passing any data here. By default, it is initialized with the default values. Here I am passing the data. This A value is passing to this A, and this B value is passing to this B. A was earlier 1 and 2. Now the A and B is what? 10, 20. So it is satisfying both which constructors? Default as well as parameterizer constructor, fully satisfied here. This conclusion says that in a class of Python, we can define a single constructor only. We cannot attempt to write multiple constructors. Right, or run this now. I got a default constructor. I got parameters constructor. You want to create one more object? You can. This is called a T3. I will say here 100. I will write a 200. Execute. Again, you got it. Parameters constructor, you got it. You want to go for one more? చూడండి, T4, T4, I am writing here only 200, 1000 I will pass it. 1000 I will pass it. When I pass 1000, what will happen? What will happen? That will go to which value? A value only. And T4 is in where? Self. And B is containing what? 2 only will be there. Default value. Single parameter I am passing. Two parameters I am passing. Execute it. It is going to be 1000 and B is 2. You want to pass the T4 value 1000 to B. How do you write it? B is equal to, you'll write it. In the constructor, I can use a keyword argument concept also. Keyword arguments concept already completed in functions. This value will go to where? B. And A value remains as what? 1 only. See this? This is called a T5. T5. You execute it. This is my data. B value 1000, A value like that. You want to pass your own values in other way, you can take it like this. You can pass completely T6 here, and I'm writing now. Here I'm saying B is equal to some 150 and A is equal to 140. A is equal to 140. So this is a point I'm writing it. So done. B is equal to 150, A is equal to 140. This is called object creation. PVM calls the parameters constructor. Completely constructors with keyword arguments. Message passing concept it is. Execute it and got the value 140 for A, 150 for B. So I hope that it is more clear. I think so. This is more clear about it. So B value is going to 150, and then what next? A value going to this place. Keyword arguments concept also, and default parameters concept also. This addresses the concept of what? How to use single constructor which will satisfy default as well as what? Parameterized constructor. This is the way how you can take care of this subject. So constructors concept is more clear, I think so. So overall conclusion is go to the index, look at that. Constructors, importance and purpose of constructors, types of constructors, default and parameter, rules for using constructor, examples. Go to the topic here. I will show you the concept of constructors. One small documentation I want to show you. So here I will go to oops. Under the constructors here, I want to show you constructors. Come on, read out all of you. So the purpose of constructors in Python is that to initialize the object. Initializing the object is nothing but placing our own data in object without leaving object empty. Without leaving object empty. Definition of constructor. A constructor is one of the special method which is automatically or implicitly called by PVM during object creation and whose purpose is to initialize the object without leaving the object empty. Syntax for defining constructor. DEF underscore underscore init underscore of self comma list of formal parameters if any. Block of statements performs initialization. Rules for properties of constructor. The name of the constructor is always def underscore init self comma list of formal parameters. Constructors will be called by PVM automatically or implicitly during object creation. Constructors will not return any value except none. In Python, constructors can participate in inheritance process. In Python, constructors can be overridden. You can override. What is meant by overriding? What is inheritance? 4 and 5, you don't worry. I will explain it through coding. So this is about constructors concept. Now I'll go to types of constructors. How many types of constructors I said? Come on. In Python programming, we have two types of constructors. They are default or parameterless constructor, parameterized constructor, default constructor. A default constructor is a default or parameterless constructor is one which never takes any formal parameters except self. The purpose of default or parameterless constructor is that to initialize multiple objects of same class with the same values. With the same values with the same class and the same values. Def underscore underscore init underscore underscore of self block of statements performs initialization process. Done. Example, maybe I put the same example here. 1020 only self multiple objects of same class. Parameterized constructor. Parameterized constructor is one which always takes formal parameter after self. After self, you are taking the formal parameters. Purpose of parameterized constructors is that to initialize multiple objects of same class with different values. So self of init of self comma list of formal parameters. Block of statements performs what? Initialization. Example. Program for demonstrating this parameterized self comma kv here. Done. This is a T1, T2, T3 with different values passing. Most important point. Read out. Come on. In a class of Python, we can't define both the default and parameterized constructors because PVM can remember only latest constructor due to its interpretation process. To fulfill the need of both default and parameterized constructors, we define single constructor with a default parameter mechanism. Already default parameter mechanism is already explained. So here init of self comma k is equal to 1, v is equal to 2, default parameters constructor. Now got the answer. Main program, this is a way to write it. So if you come to this is comes under what? Types of constructor. Any constructor question is coming. If you read this documentation and if you do this coding, it will be more easy for you. I think it is more clear for you. Understood? Right. Online students, is it clear for all of you? Now I'll go to some more examples. Write down, open the notes. Write a Python program. Write a Python program. Write a Python program which will accept, which will accept, which will accept a line of text, which will accept a line of text, which will accept a line of text and get and get and get reverse of every word, reverse of every word, reverse of every word in the same sentence, in the same sentence, reverse of every word in the same sentence, reverse of every word in the same sentence. Look at that example I am giving. Python is an OOP language. This is an input, students. This is an input. This is an input. Expected output. Expected output, I am going to say. Expected output is so NNOHTYP. TYP. SI. Next is called NA. Next is called POO. Next is called GNAL. This is expected. Take it. Hint. Write down. Hint. Write down the hint. Write down the hint. So you have to do by using what? Classes and objects. You have to do by using classes and objects. Every program you can convert it into classes and objects. Now, so let us go to the further now. How we can do using this kind of thing. So let us go to the place. What we will do? Class work, homework. చెప్పండి ఏదోటి class work. Okay. So here you come to this place. Here I am writing. Here I am writing something like reverse. Reverse. words. Reverse words in where? Line.py. Reverse words in line.py. Okay. Now I'm going to take up class, class. Come on, what is this now? Line with words. Line with what words? So I will take it what? Diagram. ఎప్పుడైనా diagram కలిపోవాలి. Diagram. Line with words. Line with words. Okay. Then what are we doing there? We are going to take up data members. What I want? One line I want. What I will do? I will use one constructor. That constructor will initialize the line. Then I will do what? Reverse. Reverse I will take it. This reverse will take this line and reading every word and then reversing immediately. That is called reverse function. I will take it. So inside of that, I am taking d of what is this now? Underscore 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 of init underscore underscore of self. So there I am writing self dot line is equal to input of enter a line of text. Enter a line of text. Enter a line of text. Okay. Now I will go to this place. What is my intention here? Main program I am taking. What is that now? LO is equal to line with words. Now I am writing print of what? LO dot underscore underscore dict. Just a testing. Testing. Enter a line of thing. Python is an OOP language. It is going to print line colon. Python is an OOP. So LO contains what instance data member? Line. That line I need to take it. That line I need to take it reverse. So how do you take that? Let it be. Go to the next one. DEF. I will take one method. How do you take the method? Hmm. Reverse words of self I will take it. There I am writing pass. Here I am writing LO dot what is the function name? Reverse words. Reverse words. What is happening? LO dot this means what? LO address is going to self. Self already LO contains an attribute called what? Line is an data member which is available into self. Sir, how can you print that self here? చూసుకోండి అక్కడ I am in, I am in, I am in which function? Reverse words function. How do you call it? So print of what? Self dot what you can say? Line. Line. Try to run it. Here I am going to write it. Python is an OOP language. So you are getting it. Python is an OOP language because I am printing self dot what? Line. దాన్ని ఇంకొక విధంగా ఇలానే ప్రింట్ చేయాలనుకుంటే అలా కూడా చేసుకోవచ్చు మీకు సబ్జెక్ట్ ఉంటే గిన వాట్ ఇస్ దట్ అండర్ స్కోర్ వాట్ డిక్ట్ లైక్ దిస్ ఆల్సో ఇఫ్ యూ ట్రై టు ఎంటర్ లైక్ దట్ సో ట్రై టు రన్ దిస్ వన్స్ అగైన్ పైథాన్ ఈజ్ అన్ ఆబ్జెక్ట్ ఓరియంటెడ్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్ అగైన్ ఐ ప్రింటెడ్ లైక్ దట్ ఇంకా మీకు సబ్జెక్ట్ ఉందనుకోండి డాట్ వాట్ get off what? A line, right? Like this. So here I will write it. I got my data. Python is an object oriented programming language. ఇంకా మీకు సబ్జెక్ట్ ఉందనుకోండి ఇలా. So go for this. This is called what? Line. Line. So something like this. Here I am writing. KVR is the faculty for Python. Here I am writing. That is also printed like this. మనకి ఏమీ లేదనుకోండి ఏదో ఒక రైల్వే స్టేషన్కి వెళ్ళిపోయి ఎక్కడికైనా వెళ్ళిపోవడమే. దట్ ఇస్ ఓన్లీ ద మెకానిజం. సో హియర్ దిస్ ఇస్ మై డేటా. సో అల్టిమేట్లీ self contains what? My line of data. That line of data I want to reverse it. How do you do the reversing? That is the question mark. How do you do reversing? మనకు తెలియదు అది. యాక్చువల్లీ స్టూడెంట్ విల్ ట్రై టు గెట్ సంథింగ్ విచ్ ఇస్ నాట్ రిమెంబరబుల్ బికాస్ ఐ యూస్ టు షో ఎవ్రీథింగ్ ఇన్ ద క్లాస్. సో ఐ విల్ గో ఫర్ వాట్? I will go to something like this. Very simple. Self dot line of. There are so many ways and means are there. I will go for what? Split off. I will go for split off. I will go for split off. What will be coming here? Words will come. Words will come. చూసుకోండి అక్కడ ఒకసారి. Words I will print it. I'll print because every line I am printing it. Every line I am printing. So I'm getting Python is an object oriented programming language. That I want to go for getting what? Reverse. You can use comprehension. You can use many things. You can use it. What I'm trying to write it, reverse rev is equal to, I'm taking like that. Now I'm going to take it for word in where. For word in where? Words. For word in words. Now I'm going to write it rv dot append off. Rv dot append off. Rv dot append off. So what you can write it? Self dot rv. Self dot rv. Self dot rv of. You can take it word of what? Colon minus 1. Colon minus 1. ఇక్కడికి వచ్చిన తర్వాత ఎల్స్ ఇఫ్ యూ కమ్ టు ఇట్ ప్రింట్ ఆఫ్ వాట్? సెల్ఫ్ డాట్ ఆర్వి. సెల్ఫ్ డాట్ ఆర్వి. ఐమ్ ప్రింటింగ్ దట్. సో సీ దిస్ ఆన్సర్ నౌ. Python is an object oriented. For Python, reverse is here. For is, reverse is here. For and, reverse is here. All those things is written. So this part I will do what? Here I am going to do what? Self.rv. Even you can take a local variable also, no problem. Local variable also you can take it. After taking the local variable, you can do what? Joining them. Joining them. How do you take it now? Reversed line is equal to some space, you take it. So what you will do? RL is equal to RL is equal to RL plus RL dot join of what? You can take it RV. You can take it RV. Now you can take it return RL if you want. You can take it self dot RL. You can take it. If at all you are very sure about it, self dot RL. Here self dot RL. Self dot RL. Now you can just keep it like that. And you can go to this place. Self dot RL. You are calling main program. So here you come down. You come down to this place. Print of what? Print of what here? Given line. Given line is equal to, come on, what is this now? LO dot, LO dot, what is this? Line. LO dot line you can print. Next is called what? Reversed line. Reversed words line. Reversed words line is equal to, what is this? LO dot what? RV. LO dot RV. LO dot RV. So RV now? RL now? RL. RL. Because RL is called what? Self-related. Self-related. Okay. So try to run this now. So I'm writing here. Python is an object-oriented programming. Python here. Python is an object-oriented programming. సో చదువుకోవాలి. ఎప్పుడు చదువుకుంటే కోడింగ్ వస్తుంది. క్లాస్కి వచ్చినప్పుడు చదువుకోవాలి, అప్పుడే సబ్జెక్ట్ వస్తుంది. సో హెచ్వైడి ఈస్ ద క్యాపిటల్ ఆఫ్ టిఎస్. Capital of TS. HYD, whatever you have written, HYD is a capital of TS. So here I am writing Mississippi. Mississippi is a river. Is a river. Mississippi is a river. Mississippi, it is like this, is a river. Something like that is in reverse. I think you are understanding this. Everything I did with what? Oops related things. Understood? Like that you need to write it. Write down one more example. You practice by yourself. Write a Python program. Write a Python program. Write a Python program which will accept list of values. Which will accept list of values. Which will accept list of values. In the bracket, both numerics and non-numerics. Both numerics, non-numerics, STRs, etc. Both numerics, STRs, non-numerics, etc. Any kind of value, any kind of value. It will accept list of values and and display only unique values. Display only unique values. Display only unique values. Display only unique values. Without using, without using, without using set, set and set functions. Without using set and set functions. Without using set and set functions. Without using set and set functions. Will you do it? Come on. Will you do it? Silence అనేది ఉండకూడదని చెప్పాను. Will you do it? Right, we will do. Already this example I said. Already this example I said. Okay. Next. Write a Python program. That is you have to do by using what? Classes and objects. Write a Python program. Write a Python program which will generate, which will accept, right? Which will accept a numerical integer value, a numerical integer value, which will accept a numerical integer value and display its factors, display its factors, display its factors, display its factors by using classes and objects, by using classes and objects, by using classes and objects. Next, write a Python program, write a Python program, write a Python program which will accept a list, which will accept a line of text, which will accept a line of text, which will accept a line of text, which will accept a line of text and display the length of each word, and display the length of each word, and display the length of each word by using classes and objects. These are all examples I said with functional programming. Length of each word by using classes and objects. Now students, after completion of that, I would like to go for a concept called object. I want to tell objects. So why do you need an object? We are using object from beginning of my OOPS and beginning of our classes also. What is the need of object? To store the data. To create an object, what is required? Class is required. Without class, if I create an object, what will come? Name error will come. Name error. So to store the data, to do any data processing, compulsory what we need? Object is required. So what is the difference between class and object? Class will not have memory space. Object will contain the memory space for the data, members and methods of class. So to create an object, compulsory what must be loaded first? Class. With respect to one class, we can create obj1, obj2, n number of objects I can create. So what is the syntax for creating an object? I can create an object without passing any value. I can create an object by passing the value. Student, here I am creating an object. Variable name is equal to class name of. Variable name is equal to class name of. I can also go for creating variable name is equal to class name of. Variable name is equal to class name of some value. So this is an object creation with a default constructor. This is an object creation with a parameterizer constructor. So I'm linking the object creation with constructor here. So simple. Try to read out the object also. Come on, everybody. Start. Objects in Python. When we define a class, memory space is not created for data, members and methods, but whose memory is created when we create an object with respect to class name. The purpose of creating an object is that to store the data. To do any data processing, it is mandatory to create an object. To create an object, there must exist a class definition. Otherwise, we get name error. Suppose if I go to this example, if I write it k is equal to kvar of, you will be getting name error. Last one, you will get name error. So here name error. KVR is not defined. So without class creation, you cannot go for creating an object. So if I define a class called KVR, if I define a class called KVR, and if I say pass, no more error will be coming. That object contains none, no value present in that. It contains a k dot underscore underscore dict, which contains what data? Empty. So that part you already know, and we did many times in the class. Come on, definition of what? Object. Very regular. Instance of a class is called object. They will ask you what do you mean by instance. Instance is nothing but allocating memory space for data members and methods of a class. It is a very regularly favorite to the students. Object is nothing but instance of a class. Instance meaning is important. Memory space will be created for data members and methods. Syntax for creating an object. Variable name is equal to class name of, or variable name is equal to class name of value 1, value 2, value n. What did you understand? Object creation with a default constructor, object creation with a parameterized constructor. Already default and parameterized constructor is done. So I kept the object pending up to object creation with constructors. Create an object student, SO is equal to student of, create an object of employee, EO is equal to employee of 10 comma row sum. It is called parameterized constructor. It is called a default constructor. Important syntax for academic level or for interview point of view. Difference between classes and object. What is a class? What is an object? A class is a collection of data members and methods. Object. Instance of a class is called object. When we define a class, memory space is not created for data members and methods, and it can be created as a specification or model for real-time application. Every program has to start with the class only. Here, when we create an object, we get the memory space for data members and methods of a class. Define definition of a particular class exists only once. With respect to one class definition, we can create multiple objects. Next, fourth, when we develop any program with object-oriented principle, class definition will be loaded first in main memory only once. We can create an object after loading class definition. Otherwise, we get name error. These are the differences between classes and object. If I go to my index, here if you look at classes and object, here I have classes concept, perfectly discussed it. Object concept, just now it is covered. And examples with communication with database and all. Constructors concept is done. Inside the class, still inside the class, we are talking tomorrow about what? Destructor concept I will explain tomorrow. Destructor concept in collection with garbage collector. Earlier we learned only garbage collector conceptually. Now we are going to see programmatically in tomorrow. Internal flow of destructor with garbage collector. How it is going to be done, I'm going to explain. GC module also we are going to discuss. Followed by encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, those things will be continued. Okay now? So read well and prepare well and come. Are you writing notes? Right. So write the notes and I'll stop my class. And tomorrow I will go for destructors in Oops, I will go for it. Thank you. Carry on. Online students, having any doubt, you hold on. I'll be discussing with you within few seconds. Thank you. Online students, any more doubts? Any more doubts you are having? I will clarify your doubts. Rakesh, you cannot use it. You have to do the process of reverse. You have to do the process of reverse there only. I'm doing the reverse. Joining, you need to do it. If you return that value, what is happening? It is not going to return the, it is not going to become the reversed of the words. Your program will give you what? Sentence will be reversed. But our program is word reverse. Our program is a word reverse, not a sentence reverse. Okay. So take care. And I will upload this note, students. Take care about it. Okay. Thank you.